Before we get into today's video, I would like to just say a couple of words in recognition to the devastating and tragic loss of Diogo Jota and his brother in a car crash in Spain. Just absolutely floored me, man. You know, 28 years old, no age whatsoever, recently got married a few days ago, has a young family. I don't know the sort of details of his brother's family or whatever, but it's just so tragic. No age at all. This is breaking earlier this morning at time of recording. Condolences to, of course, his family, friends, and indeed the Liverpool community at large, because it is just absolutely horrific, man. It's just shocked the footballing world, and apart from everything else, of course, he had an amazing career. He's in his prime and for club and country. So yeah, man, I had to just quickly say a few words on that. It's, just desperately sad. But of course, I am here to make content about Chelsea, and we are going to get into that. Right, so let's move on to football, as in Chelsea, and talk about the Club World Cup game against Palmeiras. It's going to certainly be very, very tricky. Of course, it's riddled in narrative because of the Esteval situation. Are we assuming he's going to start? He might do. If should they lose, is he just going to jump on the Chelsea bus and go, see you later, boys? It could happen. Palmeiras are a good team. Of course, they beat Botafogo, the other Brazilian team, one of, to get through to the quarterfinals with Chelsea. As you can see, by the way, for those of you who are just catching up, I've changed some of the tech. I've got a better capture card. I've moved some stuff around. The audio should be better. The quality should be better. The shirts should be more in focus with me now, whereas what I was using before, the capture card, I think it was anyway. I won't bog you down with the tech stuff, but it should be better. So hopefully you guys think so and are enjoying some cleaner content. Right, now I want to look at this stuff. This is Palmeiras' lineup against Botafogo, who they, of course, eliminated to get to the quarterfinals against Chelsea. Alan. Oh, but wait, is this the... that's the younger Alan, because there's the one that played for Napoli and Everton, and I'm not sure it's him. Anyway, there's a few names in there. Of course, the player we'll be looking at is Esteval Willian. Of course, they did beat Botafogo out... shooting them more shots on target, slightly less possession, playing a 4-2-3-1 formation. You'd imagine they'd go with something very similar for Chelsea. Of course, they've had sort of ample days rest. You don't think now there'll be much rotation. They'll be going for this with their best team. The big question is, will they rest Esteval? Will they start him? Because he himself has been talking about the nerves of Chelsea. He's demonstrated immense ability in this tournament in terms of like his skills and understanding speed and trickery and all that, but he hasn't scored. I don't think he's assisted. I wonder if Palmeiras will look at him and go, well, this might be a bit of an emotional overload for him. He did get subbed a couple of times a bit earlier as well in the last game. Maybe they think, let's not start him. I do wonder if there's a reality where Chelsea say, can you not start him? Maybe there's like a clause when they said, oh, you can buy him, but he's going to play for us in the Club World Cup. Maybe Chelsea put something, unless you play us. Obviously in the Premier League, there's the he can't play for his parent club rule. That's a Premier League thing, but I doubt. I mean, it's very unlikely there's a clause put in here. If he doesn't start, I doubt it's because Chelsea have asked him not to. I think it's more likely, most probably, the club Palmeiras looking at a teenager who's been quite, emotionally charged about this impending move to Chelsea. They're playing Chelsea. What does he do if he scores, and how does he celebrate? And maybe his mind will be elsewhere. And I do wonder if that will be the case. But we'll see what happens. I want to speak about how we'll set up, though. All right. I'm going to screen share this Pam from Home Crowd. Some players that I feel like we could see. I'm just going to sip my coffee and pause recording. That's better, getting more appropriately caffeinated. Now, this is a big, important knockout game, so I do think we will see our regrettably first choice goalkeeper Robert Sanchez. In goal, to his credit, he's not done much wrong in terms of errors leading to goals. Despite trying, he's done some risky passes, some crazy wobbly moments, and yeah, I do think he'll be there again. Now look, it's a little bit of guessing. One thing we know for sure is Caicedo is suspended for this game, so the midfield will be interesting. I do think we're going to see this again in possession. Reece James tucking into the back three. Really high, actually. Let's just build that like that. Lavia certainly will be playing CDM. I think Cucurella will be holding the width on the left-hand side like he's been doing recently. Less of a inverting fullback and more of a, not winger because he's a little bit more reserved and he tracks back. But I suppose it's kind of like a left wing back and there's no right wing back. It's kind of like asymmetrical. So Lavia will be in midfield. Now, what will happen is we'll either see Fernandes playing a more reserved withdrawn role. Maybe Fernandes could be playing as the number 10. Who knows? Maybe we'll see Sugo start. I don't think we'll necessarily, because he had a few token minutes off the bench. I doubt that qualifies him for a start in an important knockout round. So we have seen Fernandes play the withdrawn role before. There's a chance we could see that. Of course, guys, there is also a chance that we could see this. I don't think Chelsea fans would want to see this because Gusto's not been playing well, but should we see something a little bit more like that, it will be probably Cucurella being more reserved and Gusto are holding the width there. I mean, to be honest, that would suit Gusto well because that's what he did under Pochettino, or inverting and whatever, yada, yada, yada. But Gusto hasn't been playing well at all, I don't think. So let's say Fernandes plays a more withdrawn role. Levy will probably be on that side. Fernandes will be on that side. So let's go with that. This is what we'll look like in possession. Back three. Cucurella advancing, holding the width. Pedro Neto or Noni Madueke, who we could talk about, holding the width from the right. Neto's been the man in form, 3 goals so far, so he's playing very, very well. I do wonder what's going on with Noni Madueke, if there is talks about him in terms of potential sales. Now, Palmer did play the left pocket really well before. He had a good understanding with Cucurella, and although Chelsea fans at first were like, why is he playing there? He did find a good understanding with Cucurella overlapping, and they combined well, and you know, he's still operating in the central area and looking good, and have license to drift over to his favoured right pocket at times. Now, so Neto or Noni on the right wing. If Neto's at all red zoning, you will see, Noni Madueke starting. Now, this is a really interesting one. I'll get to Joao Pedro in a moment. This is a really interesting one because Delap has played and looked good. Of course, he's been helped by Nicholas Jackson's, 2-game suspension, which is now finished. Now, I want to talk about Jackson a little bit more broadly. He could start because Delap's done loads of running, and we could see Jackson get 60 minutes. And maybe, Maresca, Chelsea think Jackson's been really good for Chelsea, broadly very good for Chelsea for 2 years. He deserves to come back in here, to rest Delap for a little bit. And of course, you see, I think Joao Pedro playing in behind. I did a video yesterday when he spoke about striker. It could be a turn of threads as like just a Brazilian saying he's a forward. But a lot of people are suggesting still he'll play a more withdrawn role. He wants the ball to feet. He's not going to run in behind. He's more technical link play. And what's happened here is we've created a box midfield. A 3 box with Fernandes at the base with Lavia. Palmer and Joao Pedro as the number 10s in the box. And the width being held with Neto and Cucurella. And then, of course, you've got a striker, whether that be Jackson or, of course, a Delap. There we go. So that's very, very interesting. Of course, when you defend, James will hug the flank a bit more. He will be supported by a very hard-working Neto that will run back. Of course, Cucurella's got engine for days. We do need a backup for him, like a Jarell Hato or something. But he'll get back, and we'll end up, defending well with like a 4-4-2. Essentially, I'll just quickly build that. It will look like 4, defending back. Neto, probably Fernandes will go a little bit wide. Maybe Palmer might be a real sort of tight like that. And then Delap and Pedro out of possession, 4-4-2 press. Although actually saying that, Palmer often plays well in the front 2 pressing. He usually leads the press with the striker, doesn't he? So you could actually see that. And to be honest, that makes a lot of sense out of possession. Joao Pedro can play in that left side comfortably. So that would be like the out of possession press, the two forwards, Palmer and Delap. And of course, you get in possession, everyone sort of reverts back to the in possession shape. Box midfield. There you go. And of course, if we do start Joao Pedro, you could see them swap places, Palmer and him, with that box midfield. Palmer, I'm just seeing Palmer in the left pocket now because that's what we ended up beating Benfica 4-1 with Palmer, and Cucurella linking up well on that left-hand side. So that's what could happen there. We could see, of course, other things like Joao Pedro end up playing up top, and of course, if you've got that, you could bring on an Nkunku, I suppose. I put Gittins in here. He's not necessarily ready. Nkunku could play as a striker. Of course, we could see Noni Madueke. Where is Noni? I'm probably looking right at him and I can't see him. There he is. So that's what I think the setup will look like. We should win this game. We should absolutely be beating Palmeiras and qualifying for the semi-finals against Al Hilal of Fluminense. That's just simply what should be happening. I do think, obviously, the whole Gittins thing, I think they prioritised getting Joao Pedro over the line rather than getting him, announced, doing the media with him, the interviews, the photos, yada, 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 because he can play. He can play, straight away. He's already training. He's available. He could play against Palmeiras, whereas, of course, Gittins I still think it's mental why Dortmund cup-tied him. It did not do them any favours in terms of negotiations. They cup-tied him, played him once off the bench for Dortmund in the Club World Cup, and then made him less valuable to Chelsea because now he can't play in the competition. I don't know if they were trying to prove a point or what was going on there, but that's mental if you ask me. So we should be beating Palmeiras. I think we will. I'm very intrigued to see. Of course, it would be absolute textbook narrative, sod's law for Esteval to get his first goal involvement of the tournament against Chelsea. I do think you'll probably see him chatting to Chelsea players afterwards, because they've probably already spoken across social media and got a relationship and stuff. But I'll be very, very keen to see how he performs. I don't want to disrespect Palmeiras. I think they've played well. We could absolutely get eliminated by them, I know I saw this graphic, I put it on my Instagram, that the Maresca's only lost 2 games in bloody ages and the rest are all wins, and one of those 2 losses were that loss to Flamengo, which turned out to be a strategic masterclass in terms of our what side of the draw we put on, the fact how we got we avoided Bayern Munich. If you'd go back and knew that was going to happen, you would deliberately lose that game. So it's almost, I'm not saying Chelsea ever want to lose a game, but the form is excellent. And the vibes are good, basically. And more players could be coming. You got Levi Carwell doing interviews saying, yeah, we got new boys coming in. We want to push ourselves. Only winners. We're here to win. The noise is coming out of the players. Everyone feels more comfortable. The training's good. I don't know what's caused this mentality shift. Maybe it's Willie Issa, the rugby guy doing the hacker in the dressing room. But the things are feeling good at the moment. And, long may it continue, I say. And I think we'll beat Palmeiras. I don't think it's going to be. I think they'll make it difficult. I don't necessarily think we're going to slap them, and I think we're going to be careful, tactical. I think maybe a 2-0 win. I realise the game is after tomorrow. There'll be another video before I react to it, but I wanted to do a preview of it today. I reckon Joao Pedro, he could start, I would not be surprised to see him start if it's even a Chelsea hierarchy thing. We want the American audience to see this shiny new signing. Give him 60 minutes, and then bring on someone else or whatever. I could see it happening. I'm going to say a 2-0 to Chelsea, qualify for the semi-final. Of course, in the meantime, I'll be covering all the other extra Chelsea news regarding, Gittins and indeed Mohamed Kudus and a whole host of the transfers that need to go out the door. So do keep it locked. Thank you for supporting the content, for liking and subscribing. And I hope to see you back here soon. Peace.